something with you about spiritualism, and we're going to draw this from John Edmonds and George Dexter's Spiritualism, and this was published in 1853. Now, we're going to do something different today. And one of the things about spiritualism, one of the things that kept spiritualism going were the home circles. And what this book was about the communications with souls. And it relays some of their teachings. And if you read any of the books from spiritualism that shares those teachings, you will come across passages where the souls give instructions on how to conduct your circle, what needs to happen. And this is one of those things. And they tell us that when in the circle, the minds of the attendees should be sincerely directed or focused. The mind must be entirely receptive to the impressions of those souls in attendance of the circle. And the mind must be focused. And what they mean by focus is when we meditate, we have these images that come to mind. And the idea with meditation is not to latch on to those images, not to see our grocery list going by and we start adding stuff to it. The idea is to allow those images to just move through the mind. And by allowing them to move through the mind, you are actually setting the mind up to be receptive. And once all this daily junk works its way through, you get to what I like to call secret knowledge. And what this secret knowledge is it's information that you would not find in books. Or you begin to take these ideas that you had, and new ideas are whispered into your mind, so to speak. And you bring the two together. This is how we begin to communicate with souls. We're going to do a little bit of this later in the class. But right now, does anybody have any comments or questions they might like to voice?
I'll share a comment. Just what helps me with those slots is I just picture that there's a stage. Thoughts are entering stage right, and they exit stage left. There's a nice big exit sign, and I just vision them just traipsing across the stage, out of sight, out in the wings. And that just helps me. And it gets less and less. The more I do, the less and less those images are there, the intrusive images are there.
Cool. It's all about methodology, and that's what meditation is. It's a method. It's a method that gets you to where you want to be at mentally, whether it's an altered state or some other fashion. So, good. Anybody else have any comments they would like to make? Then I will thank you for allowing me to share that. Thank you, Beth, for sharing your thoughts. And our lesson today is going to be a little bit experiential. Going to be a little bit experiential. Now, as I said earlier, what kept spiritualism alive for so long were the home circles. We're going to do a little bit of a circle. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about circles too. And we're going to draw from Raymond Trevor Bradley's article, The Psychophysiology of Intuition, a quantum holographic theory of non-local communication. So this is science.
That is a mouthful.
Yes, it is. I had to take a deep breath for that. But this is science. And this is what he has found. And this applies to us. When we sit in a circle, we have to achieve emotional quiescence or emotional inactivity, which creates a deeper non-local connection and acts as a corridor for quantum experience. Now, in English for us, quieting the emotions allows us to make this connection with the divine, which is what we're always trying to seek. But it's not really a connection with the divine that we are actually achieving. What we are actually achieving is opening up a conduit for information to flow into us. Essentially, we are the cell phone and we're making a connection. And quieting our emotions assists us quite a bit with this. He also tells us that this may be experienced as, and now we're talking about the quantum experience, which is also experiencing the divine for us. This may be experienced as insight into ourselves, into others, or underlying orders of the universe, meaning natural principles. And he also tells us that anger, frustration, and those types of emotions create incoherent fields. We're always being told we have to raise our vibrations, raise our frequencies to make these connections. What he's actually telling us is that our emotions, because we have this emotional field that we generate, has to be coherent. And by coherent, everything resonates. Anger, you remember how it feels when you get PO'd? You're shaking, everything is intense, nothing is coherent. You try speaking and it's that's an incoherent field. Now, just because you may feel angry or depressed or anything like that, does not mean that you will not receive any of this information that's available, because you will. But it won't be as good of a connection as you could have if you were neutral, in a manner of speaking, or feeling good about yourself. We have our meditation before the messages. And the reason we do that is because it quiets your mind, and those souls that are around you can actually get through. And that's important. Even if our music is kind of choppy and everything, we still get into that zone, as they call it. And when we get into that zone, as they call it, as we call it, they're able to impress upon us images, words, thoughts, anything that we connect to, because communication happens on a variety of levels. Yes? So what are your thoughts right now?
It makes sense. Also, when you talk about the circles and us eventually getting back to them, earlier this week in a meditation, I just kept envisioning memories of the circle, being in a circle. So obviously was getting a message.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. Now, this is a relevant piece here, because he also tells us that in the same sense, and souls tell us this too, in the same sense, an incoherent group, or one whose members are distracted, emotionally by disaffection. And what he means by disaffection is dislike. Why am I sitting next to this person? Why can't I sit over there with those people? There's so much, that creates discordance or tension, which is essentially the same thing. I'm not talking about tension of the body. Yeah, that interferes. But when we have this intellectual or emotional tension with other people, that creates a bit of a barrier here. And conflict. Then we know what that is. He tells us that the collective resonant field is incoherent if you have people like that who are there. Now, I know when I say circle, what comes to mind is a group of people sitting in a circle, but you don't have to sit in a circle to have a circle. Even when you've got someone like me doing messages from here, you get people in the audience who are exhibiting these very same signs: disaffection, tension, conflict. They break up that resonant field that everybody is creating. And that's what happens when we come together like this. We are creating these resonant fields. And it doesn't make a difference if you're right in front of me or if you're several hundred miles away from me, like Cecilia and Sandy are. That does not make a difference, because mind is non-local. And what I mean by non-local, it's not stuck here in the head. It's out there. That's how we communicate with souls. It's how we communicate with each other, believe it or not. You pick up the phone. Oh, I was just thinking about you. Hey, yeah, it's that connection. That's that connection. In fact, Rupert Sheldrake did a study on telepathy. And in that study, he discovered, there's that bond, that connection between pet owners and pets, which is very easy to verify. What he says is that when people are out and the pet's at home, as soon as those people start thinking about going home, the pet automatically becomes alert. Automatically comes alert. My mom tells me when I call her, when I'm going over there, and I call her to let her know I'm getting off the highway or I'm coming into town, depending on which route I take. Bugs, which is a little chihuahua, starts looking for me. So this whole concept of telepathy, or this whole concept of interconnection with other people and each other, is real. It's very real. And when we sit in a circle, that's what we are creating. We're creating a resonant field, and this resonant field takes this narrow corridor that we have, and it becomes a larger corridor or a larger conduit, and more information can come through. Does that make sense? Any thoughts or questions?
Oh, I'll share one. A former neighbor of mine, next door neighbor, had two dogs, two pit bull mixes, just sweet as pie, and they just love me for some reason. I'm the cat person. Okay, so these dogs just love me. And one time she told me, she goes, Beth, she goes, I always know when you're coming home, because when your car is up at the end of the street, the dogs are running to the window with their tails wagging, looking for you. And then here you come up with your car.
Oh, wow.
So there's that connection. So a little bit of experiential time. Those of you who have a pencil and paper in front of you, like Sharon and Beth do, go to a fresh page. And it looks like Sandy's got hers there.
Have to title it.
Yes, yes, okay. Does everybody have the date written on their sheet of paper? Write the date on it. And keep your pencil or pen in hand. Grip it lightly, not this death grip on it, so when you write, it all comes out smooth. No, just lightly hold it, lightly hold it. And I want you to close your eyes. I want you to listen to my voice for a moment. Just carefully listen to my voice. You hear only my voice. I want you to relax. Just take a deep breath, hold it, and slowly let it out. Just relax. Just relax. Now you'll get these colors that start coming through your mind. That's okay. That's okay. You may get these images of your message from earlier or something else. That's okay. Allow it to move through the mind. Just allow it to move through the mind. And I want you to focus on one question. And the question is, what is the purpose of soul communication? Now, don't write it down. Just listen to the question. What is the purpose of soul communication? Focus on that. What is the purpose of soul communication? Now, those of you holding a pen or something, if you may feel a slight tenseness in your wrist or your fingers, you may feel the urge to write something. Don't open your eyes. Just write. Just write. That is soul coming through you. If you hear something, don't be afraid to voice it. But if you are afraid to voice it, just write what you hear as best you can. If you should see images, just write them as best you can. Don't open your eyes. Leave them closed. Leave them closed. And allow the information to move about. If nothing occurs, don't worry about it. But focus on the question. What is the purpose of soul communication? What is the purpose of soul communication? There are many reasons for people to come together for circles. Some of them come together simply to check in on their loved ones or to see what is going to happen with them tomorrow. But there are those, and we wish that to be this with you, who come together to learn. We have so much that we can teach you. You only have to be open to it. The reason why we encourage the circle is because there is more energy there. Not all of you will harmonize the same as each other, but you will come together and harmonize nevertheless. And the one who is open, that one will receive the information for you. That one will be our conduit as we share the information with you, just as this one likes to read the information from others in the past. Our old students, and you too can become one of our students. We seek this because there is so much. Your world is not up in arms. Your world is going through changes. And these changes, it's like birthing a child. And this is why many of our mediums that we come through are female, are women, because they know what it's like to birth a child, the agony that comes with it, and the beauty that comes forth. And we will close this short session, but we will await you again. What is the purpose of soul communication? Just allow the information to flow through you. We'll close this little session of our circle here. And did anyone receive any information?
I did.
What did you receive?
Okay, the first thing I heard was, what is the purpose of soul communication? Was the word clarity. And after that, I started receiving pictures of a bell ringing, a steeple, a town crier, and then like all these scenes from Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which is all, of course, the three ghosts. And then at the very end, I was beginning to see like jewelry or sense jewelry, jewels or whatever, and heard topaz or saw topaz, so wrote down topaz.
Okay, go through this slowly once more.
Okay, clarity,
Clarity, pay attention.
bell ringing, a big bell in a steeple,
Okay.
a town crier, again, that's communication.
Announcements. Yeah. News.
Mhm. And then just the scenes from Dickens' A Christmas Carol, like the ghost scenes or the town scenes. It was very Victorian.
Okay.
The setting,
Do you relate well to that?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, good, good. Create the environment. That's what they're telling me.
What about topaz, the jewel?
Oh, topaz. Topaz. It's like a rose quartz.
No.
Yeah,
Golden
yellow
brown.
brown, but it's like a rose quartz. What is a rose quartz for?
That's for some a symbol of love.
Those souls that were coming through for you, Victorian times, giving you a reference point. And topaz may have been more common than the rose quartz, but I don't know.
What do you mean, the times, the souls were coming through or from that time?
Yes,
Oh,
when they walk the earth.
I did write a few things down that I felt impressed by. We're all connected. The connection, and that there's no division.
Okay.
And we're all part of the whole. And that there's no death. That came to me.
Good. And how about you, Sharon?
Well, the first question, you know, about what was the purpose, the first thing that came to me was love. And then stay connected, like with people that have gone before, the loved ones that have gone before, you said something about that as well. And then I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but I became extremely aware of your voice was different.
Okay.
Your
Did I
voice
say anything worthwhile?
It said a lot of really good things, but it was not your normal voice. And I wrote, you didn't know,
Interesting.
I, at the end of it, I wrote channeled because you did not sound like you. And you referred to them as we. We are here to do blah, 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 blah. We are here, not me, not I, or not they. We, you said we.
I heard none of that,
Really?
none of that.
Sandy heard it.
I heard it.
Right?
I did hear that your voice was different. Yes. I definitely did hear that.
It was a little more breathy. It was a little bit higher in pitch. And I just thought, somebody's standing right next to you or right there, and they're speaking for you. That's what I thought when I heard you. Maybe you don't remember what you said, but what you said there was a lot of good stuff there.
Ooh, can we listen to it?
It just didn't sound, it just didn't sound, I hate to say it didn't sound like you, but it didn't. The message didn't necessarily sound like something, unless you were reading it, maybe then, but
No,
since you
no.
were just, I know you weren't reading, it was coming out, it was coming from you, but it was, I don't know, it was different. It was different. Kicked right off. After about the first couple minutes, your voice changed. And then you started to give your talk. Talk. You'll have to go
Okay.
back and listen.
I will. I want to do it now.
I don't think we can now, but when it's available. Well, I mean, the first thing, like I said, channeled, I wrote channeled. I could have written text next to it because that's what it sounded like. That's what it felt like. No. And you said that, and of course, this exactly relates to what you said before about in the circle, clearing out all the, calming the mind so the information flows. That's what you said. And that's exactly, that feels like what happened. Kind of like what happened in this situation, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the idea here is that, I know you're not comfortable voicing what you hear. I know that, and any of you,
Any of us, okay,
because I know you and Beth can do message work. Very good message work.
you know what gets in the way of that for me, we don't even have to go there.
So, but that's why I said if you don't feel that pressure on your hands, it will start moving it. If you hear something, just write it, but don't open your eyes. The minute you open your eyes, you break the spell, in a manner of speaking.
Okay.
That's why I said, don't open your eyes, just write it as best you can, because your hand knows what to do. All you have to do is think it, and your hand will write it. It may not write it straight across or neatly, but your hand will write it. And you don't have to focus on writing it. If you should hear something, if you should see something, we're all mediums. We all have that connection. So, and this is what this gentleman writes. While non-local experiences on an individual level may be potent, they are amplified in a social collective whose purpose and ideology are attuned. And this is particularly true when they are bio-emotionally attuned, forming an interconnected network. Meaning, when those in attendance resonate, that interconnectedness, which is there, is strengthened for that amount of time. It's amplified. Your experience is amplified. You may not have received this by yourselves, but because this was a group effort, you did. And the information that you received is according to your level of understanding. It's not going to be something that's far out in space, like some of the stuff I talk about. Mine will be, because that's how I think. But what you receive, that truth, remember, truth is according to your understanding, will be according to your understanding. And the stuff that you wrote down makes perfect sense to you, doesn't it? And it also teaches you. So not only did you receive information that you already knew, but you received information that you can apply as well. And that's the important thing. That's the important thing. Any comments or questions?
Really enjoyed this.
It was good.
Any last thoughts, Sandy?
I did enjoy this. I hope we do it again. I think the more we do it, the more we're gonna get from it, for lack of a better phrase. The easier it'll be to receive is what I mean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And if any of you want to start your own little gathering, your own little group, you'll know how to do it. And there is no wrong way to do this. No wrong way.
Mhm.
I've read how some of these pioneers did it. Emma Harding traveled the country from the East Coast to the West Coast. And there were so many different ways of conducting a circle. So many different ways. And the way we did it, all I did was talk you through it. And then, well, I don't know.
Something happened.
Something happened.
Oh,
So, any last thoughts, Sharon?
not really. Except, like I said, it was interesting. I still keep seeing my brother standing up against the lamppost.
Tapping his foot now.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I have this image. I can't get rid of it.
So, any last thoughts, Beth?
You know what I feel? I feel a sense of accomplishment with this.
Me too.
I'm like proud of myself. Not smug, but just, you know,
Yeah.
a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah, because I haven't,
Validation.
yeah, I haven't felt like that in a while. So, yeah, you're right. Coming away feeling good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to close with this. A collective field amplifies the processing of intuitive information. First, it acts as an attractor, drawing it into the group, and then the individual field. That's why you got information that was personal to you. And whichever one is more receptive will get the general information for the group. And if I channel, that information is for all of you. Second, through resonance, the field is amplified and boosts the strength of the information being received. Meaning the information that we all received, we got because we were all in it together. And if you notice, the information was of a different quality than the messages. Third, the emotional stability and level of quiescence is also amplified, meaning the receptive state of each of you was strengthened by the other. Circles are a team effort. That's why it's important for all of the attendees to be sincerely directed or focused. If we're all focused in the same direction, we get a much broader view because there's more of us than we would if there was just us. So I'm going to say thank you for allowing me to share this. Thank each of you for participating